All right, we're live. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome to Thursday Thoughts with Casey and Jessica. Today we are talking about boundaries, boundaries with the holidays, boundaries in general, and how this relates to healing with your autoimmune disease. Because believe it or not, everything we do that is not eating for our body affects our autoimmune disease too. So as you can tell, we're talking a lot about lifestyle factors and stress lately because it is such an important factor as well as food. So let me just introduce ourselves and then we'll get right into it. If you are streaming or watching this from Jessica's group, my name is Casey Kephart. I am the founder of Nutrition with Casey. I host the Facebook group Nutrition for Women with Autoimmune Disease, and I work with women who suffer from any autoimmune disease. And we work to put that in remission so you can get back to your life, get back to running with your kids again, and sleeping well, everything like that. I am also a fellow autoimmune person as well, so I know what you're going through. And I reside in St. Petersburg, Florida, where the sun always shines, except today. And I have Jessica with me. So Jessica, why don't you say a little bit about you for my group?
Thanks, Casey. So for those of you who don't know me, who are either from Casey's group or new to my group, my name is Jessica Melnick. I am the founder of the Anti-Arthritis Method and the host of my Facebook group, Happy Joints Arthritis Solutions. So I work specifically with people who have autoimmune forms of arthritis because that is something that I manage as well. So Casey and I are both coming from a place where we can relate to where you're coming from. And we were able to get our conditions under control and to live full, happy, healthy lives. And so we're passing our information on to you.
Yep, perfect. So let's dive right into it. So if you caught our Facebook Live on Tuesday, we talked all about how to stay on your health routine for the holidays. So being mindful, reducing that stress, how to pick foods off your plate and, not ruin a good thing that you have going already. So we're going to talk about how to set those boundaries, actually, how to say no, or how to still feel good and be happy with the decisions you make, basically. So this is a time, the holidays are a time of stress usually for us, right? So there's financial stress, there's getting the gifts, there's traveling, there's all the events that you need to go to that you might not even want to go to. There are your kids and the amount of activities, and you're pulled in 10 different directions in the family dynamics. So how do you manage all of that and still feel good? How do you manage all that and still work on your autoimmune healing and stick to your routine? Because if you're not taking care of your stressors and you're not taking care of yourself and your self-care, it's going to manifest into your moods, your physical outward appearance, whether that's psoriasis, acne, joint aches, fatigue, swelling, whatever it is for you. That's going to manifest if you're not going to set the boundaries. So to kind of set us up here and an example of what we're going to be talking about, Jessica, we were talking, I think, on Monday, and she had a really great example of what her family does for the holidays and how they set the boundaries to make everything kind of easier on them and a little swifter moving. So I'll hand it over to you, Jessica.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Casey. So one thing my family has decided to do the last few years is we've really modified the gift giving because we wanted to reduce everyone's financial stress around the holidays and really focus on the parts of the holidays that matter the most to us and that we enjoy the most. And so what we found as a family that we enjoy the most is just spending time together, having the time to get together, you know, play some board games, cards, just chill out, enjoy really good food, enjoy some delicious adult beverages, and just be able to enjoy that time. That was more important to us than the gifts. And we also found that the whole gift buying thing too is just another additional stressor. You know, like there's other friends or other sides of the family that you may be buying gifts for. And it's a lot of running around. It's a lot of internet searching, depending on how you like to do your shopping. And we just thought, you know, it's just going to take a lot of that stress off ourselves to just, you know, reduce that gift giving. So this year, for example, we are just picking names to do stocking stuffers. So everyone is going to have one name, and we are going to get stocking stuffers for that person because we thought it's kind of fun to have that in the morning, you know, to open up a stocking. It's just simpler. It's less expensive than buying gifts for everybody. And we have I have a nephew, and he is the only grandchild right now in our family. So we have quite a small family. And he is at an age right now where he'll finally get to enjoy Christmas and Christmas gifts and actually remember. So we're focusing on buying him some presents. And for the adults, we're just really modifying it to just so that we can enjoy it more. And it can even come down to, you know, food. I know it was like my sister's not really into the whole huge traditional turkey dinner. It's a lot of work. She would rather not have us all in the kitchen all day long cooking. You know, we'd rather be able to enjoy each other's company a little bit more and relax a little bit more. So we've modified our meal even this year and even the past couple years just to make it a little easier for us so that we're not spending all day in the kitchen and, you know, and then doing a ton of dishes afterwards. So those are just some examples in our family of how we like to reduce some of the stress over the holiday season.
Yeah. I love that you guys all set that boundary together though too. It's really smooth sailing if you all do it together instead of you just making that boundary that you're only going to be able to buy a gift for 2 people instead of everybody. And now people are a little hurt by that. So I think that's a really good example of our first example of how to set a boundary is maybe try to get everybody on board and how everybody can benefit from it. That's going to make the turmoil a little less and maybe not at all. Do you agree?
I agree, absolutely. And that's not to say that sometimes boundaries are always smooth sailing. I know there's sometimes we've had to actually talk about it. It's like, you know, is anyone going to be disappointed if we change it and if we do it this way? Like, you know, it's always like 1 or 2 people that think of it and bring it up. And then you bring it up to the larger group. And there's usually someone who's not super excited about it, but, you know, they come around or they're okay with it. And it's not, you know, everyone can still enjoy themselves. So it's not always perfect and seamless, you know, but it at least starts a conversation.
Yeah, seamless is the word I've been looking for. Thank you for that. Not smoothly or whatever I've been saying, seamless. So some other examples of the hows. How do we set boundaries during holidays? And everybody's holidays looks different, but try to implement this and where you see fit. Sometimes we're pulled in 10 different directions with events, right? We got to go to the in-laws. We got to go to our parents. We got to see grandma. We've got to drive to our friend Nancy's house, you know, whoever it is. A good idea maybe to limit the events you go to and maybe have them combine the events to all come to your house or something, or you know, invite people over to other people's houses. Don't actually do that, but you know what I'm saying. So saying no and limiting the amount of events that makes you happy. Because remember, you're the most important thing here. Your health is the most important thing. So learning how to say no and not feeling guilty about it could be a really good way to set a boundary. And I know that's harder than it sounds. Yeah, harder than it sounds. So, Jessica, do you want to add more to that? I'm not explaining it right now.
No, absolutely. You're definitely on a great thread there. Just like limiting things. If, you know, if holiday events are your thing and that fills your cup and that gives you energy, then by all means. For some of us, being at a whole bunch of different social events in a small period of time is a little overwhelming and exhausting. I know I tend to be more on the introverted side. So it fills my cup up to actually spend some time alone or to spend some time with just the people closest to me. And that's how I recharge. So maybe some of you can relate. I know during COVID, that was actually, I actually didn't struggle that much with having to limit who I was able to spend time with or having to just be at home, because I found that it was kind of my excuse to be a little bit like introverted and to be more myself and not be expected to be certain places. So, for example, at Christmas last year, we were not allowed to see anybody outside of like our immediate family, and which was really disappointing. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I wanted to see my immediate family. I'm very close with them. But just having that ability to limit how many social engagements I went to, in terms of all the different like friend gatherings and stuff like that, as much as I miss being able to see everybody, it was also, I feel, really healthy because I didn't overextend myself. We were allowed to see people like on their porch kind of thing. So I would bring like Christmas baking over to my friends and we'd have like a short little visit outside because it's really, really cold here where I live in December. So it was just, short and sweet. And it was a bit nice, it was like less, not being overextended, because I typically feel exhausted by the time the holidays are over and then I need a holiday from the holidays.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to bring some of that back in. We have less restrictions this year. We're still going to have family gatherings this year. But, just to bring back and just to be aware of like what you actually need and to scale back on, on the different social events if you have to. It doesn't mean that you are antisocial or that you don't care about people or that you're selfish. Sometimes you just need to spread it out, like maybe instead of like getting together with everybody and doing all the social events for 2 weeks in December, maybe spread that out into the new year instead and do like a post-Christmas gathering when, everybody's had a bit of time to recuperate from, the actual big days. And I also find too, spreading that out into January is nice because January, there's not usually a whole lot going on. It can be pretty quiet after the holidays. Yeah, so it's kind of nice to be able to get together when things are less busy, and it gives you something to look forward to. So that's an example, like from my life, of how I kind of spread things out a little bit instead of overextending myself in a short period of time.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. I am just the opposite of you, and I am more extroverted than introverted, and time alone is not really my forte. We all need time alone, don't get me wrong, but I'm good for 2 hours alone, and then I want to go see people and do things. So COVID was a little more rough for me, and not being able to see people, but it's the same premise, is that I need to set boundaries with who I go see, with how much time I'm spending with people. And oftentimes I get double or triple booked because people are asking me for, when are you free? Can we do this day or that day? And I need to say no. I need to set a boundary for myself instead of like, yeah, I'll plan you at 12, you at 12:30, and you at 1:30. And my calendar sometimes is like that. And I look at it and I'm like, no, Casey, boundaries. Like, you need to do your work. You need to have your walk time that makes you feel good. You need to listen to a podcast. So I'm there right with you, Jessica, in that I need to say no. I need to set a boundary, but I also need to not feel bad about setting that boundary. And one thing that I thought of when you were talking was, if you're saying no to plans because, one, you don't have time, it's too much stress, you don't really like the person anyways, but you just want to go so you don't feel bad, and you say no and they get upset, they're not respecting your boundaries, and that's something to think about. Do you want to spend time with a person? Do you want to get close with a person that's not respecting your boundaries? And this goes for the holidays, this goes for your birthday, or just a plain old Tuesday. So think about that the next time that you set a boundary for yourself and it's not respected and they get snippy with you. You might be around a toxic person, not even knowing that they're toxic.
Yeah, because often it happens slowly when we are around people who aren't healthy for us, is because it starts off really great and then gradually gets worse over time. So then you sometimes just can't see the forest for the trees once you're in it, because
Yep.
it just happens so gradually over time that, all of a sudden you're there and you don't realize it. And maybe somebody else who's close to you might notice before you do and bring it up to you.
Yep, exactly. So that's another way of being mindful too, is like realizing what is going on, taking a step back and seeing how you feel when you set these boundaries, how other people are acting around you when you're setting these boundaries, and if you're okay with that. So also another form of setting boundaries and being mindful is being mindful of what you need and then setting that boundary. So do you need sleep? Do you need to tell your husband that we can't watch our favorite show tonight because I want to be in bed early? That's setting a boundary. Do you need more friend time? Do you need to tell, your kids that, they're going to go with Aunt Sarah to watch you so you can have a glass of club soda with lemon with your friend? Or do you need to just be by yourself and go shopping? Like, all of these things are forms of setting boundaries, not necessarily just for the holidays, but for yourself, so you can feel more relaxed, so you can work on your healing, so you can be less stressed and a better person. And when we're all of those things, we tend to want to eat better. We tend to make healthier choices. So, kind of putting it full circle here is when you take care of yourself by setting boundaries, you make healthier choices for the future. You get better sleep. You're able to do what's best for you and what you want your future self to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Those are great points. I'm just wondering, Casey, do you want to get into some more examples of how to set boundaries when you do have an autoimmune disease? Well, it goes for everybody, but I know that especially when you are suffering from an autoimmune condition, you definitely need to have those boundaries so that you can take care of yourself, just as you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So we mentioned a couple already, was like not feeling bad by saying no.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your responsibility to make other people happy. And these are all things just to kind of think about when you're scared to set that boundary or when you're going to set that boundary. Setting a boundary looks like, we already said a lot of examples. Is there one I'm missing, Jessica?
I think you had a really good story that you wanted to share about like giving too much and like from your own life.
Yeah. So I kind of touched on that already, so I'll just say lately I've been really into the boundaries because I'm lighting the burning the candle at both ends. So when we talked about our priorities, that live that we did, and we write down all of our priorities, I wrote down mine, and I wrote down everything I was doing, and it was volleyball, it was work, it was hanging out with my friends, it was going on dates, it was probably all of that took up my time, honestly. And those aren't my priorities. None of those were my priorities. My priorities is my business. My priorities is, doing a good job in my work. And it wasn't showing that. So I needed to set boundaries for myself to be able to do what my priorities were and crush my goals. So I needed to, say no to people asking me to play volleyball, which I'm still working at and I'm still trying to get better at. And I needed to set boundaries with the people I was going on dates with. Were they worth my time, honestly? For all of the single women watching this, like, that is one of the low-hanging fruit that you can get rid of to have more time for yourself, for more healing, for more fun with other people. Because oftentimes those people aren't worth my time. They're not worth my energy. It's not worth a conversation, honestly. And I often felt, going home at the end of the date was a waste of my time that I could have been reading a book, honestly. And I don't mean to offend any of the dates that are watching this, but I would rather read a book. So it's all about knowing what you're spending time on, knowing what your value is, and setting that boundary so you can have time for the things that mean the most to you, which if you're watching this, I'm sure it's recovering from your autoimmune disease. That was a long-winded story, but I hope I wrapped it all and came full circle there.
You wrapped it all up in a bow at the end.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. And that made me think of the other example we were talking about too the other day is if you are spending time with somebody that you don't enjoy spending time with, or let's say you're at an event and you're ready to go, like you are not obligated to stay till the very end. I know this was a thing that I used to do all the time when I was younger. It was like, oh my gosh, I have to stay till the end of this event or else it's going to appear rude if I leave too early and I don't want to disappoint the host. And I remember just thinking like, why am I doing this to myself? Because I would end up staying and I would and resenting it because I'd want to be at home, and then I'd end up drinking too much because I was bored. So then I would like go and get another glass of wine or something that I didn't need to kind of like keep myself occupied while I was like waiting for the night to end. And so I'm just more aware of that now. Like if I want to go, it's okay to go. Like, and my partner has been really great for that because he's very much like, you know, he's more introverted than me. And when we're at a social event, even if it's like one of his best friend's weddings, it's like 10:30 and he's like, we don't need to stay anymore. Like, it's okay to go. We don't have to stay till it closes. You know, we've been here, we've had quality time, we've enjoyed ourselves. I'm ready to go home and get some sleep and like have a good day tomorrow instead of being tired and feel like crap the next day, you know? And I think it's just super important to recognize that about yourself. And then what is it that you need? And, you know, it's okay to look after yourself and to take care of yourself in that way and not worry so much about what other people may or may not think. Because a lot of the time, other people are more worried about their own selves, just like we are. They're not even noticing, you know, and if they do, then we really need to reevaluate, is this a person that we want to have in our lives? You know, if they're not okay with us, so like having boundary and taking care of ourselves, then we really need to, I think twice about if we want that person around and, you know, and part of our inner circle, so to speak.
Yep, exactly. It goes back to, I think I've mentioned this before too, is the people pleaser mentality. Is a lot of us suffer from that people pleasing mentality, is that we have to do things to make other people happy, to do things to make people like us. And so if they don't like us, we feel bad about ourselves. And it all comes from like a self-conscious or self-worth thing, is that when we're setting boundaries, we need to be confident in ourselves. We need to be confident in what our priorities are and our goals. So once that happens, it's easier to set a boundary, not caring about what other people think. And you'll start to realize who's in your corner or not. So setting boundaries can be uncomfortable at first, and you might lose some friends, but were they friends in the first place? They don't respect your boundaries, your health, or anything else. So I know it's a big mentality shift. I know it's easier said than done, but if you don't start setting boundaries for your health and for yourself and for your happiness and self-care and everything else, are you fully going to heal from your autoimmune disease if you just keep giving and giving and giving and giving? Because stress is one of the most, the main factor, one of the main factors that causes your autoimmune disease and can make it worse. So I would just, I'm trying to plant seeds here.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and I'm speaking in generality, so I know this isn't true for everyone, but I feel like in general, women, as women, we are socialized to be people pleasers and to put everybody else first, to be the caregivers, the caretakers, and just constantly thinking about what other people want and doing things for other people, and a lot of times in spite of ourselves. And that is a recipe for being unhealthy. It's a recipe for resentment as well. And also, I think that also ties into sometimes we can get caught up in this victim mentality. I know we talked about this the other day too, you know, feeling like, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that for somebody else. And if I don't do that, someone's going to be upset with me, or it's going to make me look bad, or that makes me a bad mom or a bad grandma or a bad daughter or a bad friend. And that's simply not the case at all. We can't give from an empty cup. And if we are full of resentment because we are angry for being a martyr and giving more than we can, it's mentally, it's super, super toxic and very, very unhealthy, and not a place where we can actually get better from. And so there's always a better option or a modification to those things. So I think that we sometimes need to be aware of that. Like, are we over giving?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we don't even realize it. And like I said, generally, I'm speaking, again, generalities, not true for everyone, but I think generally as women, we're so socialized to overgive that we don't even realize we're doing it half the time, or when it actually gets to an unhealthy place.
Yeah, it's our normal. It's what we know. It's what we've always known. So changing your habits and your lifestyle is not easy, and we know firsthand that. So we're not trying to talk today is like, this is easy setting boundaries, it's easy saying no, it's easy not to feel guilty. That's not the case. This is a journey we're all going through with our self-care, with setting boundaries, with how to eat, knowing our body. It takes time, and it's okay if you mess up, but each time you do it, you're going to get a little better at it. You're going to feel a little less guilty about it. And I always seem like I come back to this quote, and I'm just going to keep saying it, is you don't know who you're inspiring by what you're doing. So if you are the first person to leave from your holiday party or like a wedding, like Jessica was talking about, you may be the role model for everybody else to start leaving too, because they're the people pleasers and want to stay till, some other people start leaving, so they're not looking bad. So you might be the one to start that trend. You're not the one who's looking stupid by leaving early. You're the one that's like the role model. Be like, yeah, she's got that idea. I'm gonna go right behind her with that one. So oftentimes what you're doing is setting everybody else up for success too. And it's what everybody else was thinking. And last thing I'm going to say is what Jessica said. Oftentimes, most times, people are not thinking about you. They're not worrying about what you're doing or what you're thinking or what you're acting on. We think more about ourselves than anybody else does about us, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's both. But we're just always so worried about what other people think, as am I with some things in my life, and aren't we all? But if we can work on that, it's going to get easier to make boundaries and to set boundaries.
Absolutely. And it is necessary to be physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. We have to have boundaries. So, and I know both of us are speaking from our own firsthand experience with having to set boundaries, and it's definitely can be very uncomfortable at first.
And we're both still working on them. We're both still trying to get down boundaries. And I don't know if we can ever be 100% good at it, but you can work at it every single day and get better at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said. I think we covered a lot today. I know we could both talk about this forever.
I know.
Huge important topic. I'm sure we'll end up talking about it again and just take another spin on it again. But anything else that you wanted to add, Casey? I feel like I've covered pretty much everything I can think of.
Yeah, same. And like you said, we can talk hours about this, but I think it's going to keep coming up in our lives too, just with whatever topic we have. Boundaries are always probably one of the main focus with stress. So if you want to hear anything else, comment below. If you have questions about anything we said, or you want to brainstorm some ideas on how to navigate the holidays and setting boundaries, talk to us, because we've probably gone through it, or we might have some good examples of what other people have done too. Let us also know if you want to hear a topic, or, hear us talk about something. So we'll be back next Tuesday. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving in the US, so we will not be doing a live. And then we'll be back I will be back the following week. Jessica is going on a nice vacation.
I am. I'm going to get warm. So I'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yes. So we will see you next Tuesday. Everybody have a great weekend, and let us know what you think in the comments.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, guys.
Bye.
Bye.